I'm just going to record this for anyone that misses it. So hopefully no one has any issues with that. Okay, and out of those of you, how many of you are backtesting at the moment? Or are you still going through the course? Just put a yes or no if you are or you aren't. Okay, live trading. Cool. The sooner you start backtesting, the better. That's all I'd say. I waited way too long. Your journey will be a lot quicker the sooner you start backtesting, because then you'll work out what style you need for your mentality. Okay, I'm just going to wait till 5 past, and then yeah, then we'll get going. Okay, so yeah, thank you all for joining. My name is Dominic. I've been in the photon group for about 2 years or 1 year, however long ago that it started, but I've been trading for about 6 or 7 years. At the moment, my current situation, as I was saying to Wayne, I freelance 50% of the time, freelance events, and then I trade a funded account 50% of the time. And as funding increases and I build that up, I'm dropping down freelancing days. I'm telling you that because it's helped me massively in terms of my mentality. I'm not living and rising in terms of my life and success based on every trade, because I know that I have other income coming in. And that's allowed me to balance things out and get profitable. For what I'm about to show you for this strategy, there's just a couple of caveats that I feel is only right that I mention. This is just a style that works for me and something I worked out from a lot of back testing. If you don't have a similar mentality to me or situation to me, then what you might need to trade strategy wise might be a slightly different variation of the photon style or of what you're going to see in a minute. For sure, Matt, Thomas, David, they'll all know a lot more about the technicals involved in this and can probably explain it a lot better in the manner that you're used to. But I'm keen to share this with you guys because I was always looking for something to use on the higher time frames and something that needs less attention and management and something that I could set and forget. So hopefully in sharing this, it'll be useful to you and give you some of your own ideas to go out and test yourself and find out what works for you. So this is purely trading EQ zones on 4-hour and 15-minute charts. I'm going to show you a chart first and talk through it. And then if you've got any questions as I'm talking, just note them down, and I'll try and answer some of them at the end. So can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Cool. So just starting with how I break it down. So if I'm looking at the 4-hour chart for EQ entries, I'll start by looking at the daily, because what I worked out through backtesting is that the most important confluence factor for me is that I'm buying and selling in the right areas. I know there's been some questions in chat on the groups that whether you should use pip ranges to work out what's high and low. I tend to just do it visually. So I'm looking for like the extreme highs and lows on the daily for the 4-hour and on the 1 hour for the 15-minute charts. So just visually, to me, that is what's high and that is what's low. And then I'll draw this premium discount thing. So then when I drop down to the 4-hour, I can see clearly where I should be buying and selling. You can see that I've got some zones drawn in already. Based on, I'll draw a zone straight away if I consider there's a break of structure and it's within a premium. So you can see this zone here very clearly break of structure. There's an inside bar there, so I've drawn the zone. I won't really consider placing an entry until it gets much closer. But the entry will be right on the EQ. I won't draw it exactly, but it's going to be roughly there if you want to measure it out. Once it gets a bit closer, I tend to place the order straight away, and then I'll put an alert. So this comes back to the whole set and forget. I don't want to be watching the chart all the time. I've got other work to do and other projects I want to work on, and I just like living life as well. I might be at the gym, or I might be, diving or doing whatever it is. So I'll tend to look at placing an alert for the 4 hours, 20 pips out roughly. So let's say if price is coming up to approach this zone, depending on how it is, I want to look at to see price moving very correctively, perhaps a bit of a liquidity build in front of the zone, and then I might be happy to leave that order on and slowly get tagged in. If I get an alert and price has spiked up and it's moving like that, so it's moving very impulsively, there's no liquidity build and it's right in front of the zone, I'm going to cancel whatever order I already have on. But what I started doing with this strategy is that I would place all the orders without going crazy. I don't want 10 floating orders on my account. And then when I get alerts on my phone that price is approaching it, I'd check the nature of price. Is it corrective? Does it have liquidity? Is it with or against the trend? And based on that one little check that I'll do on my phone, if I'm out and about, if I'm at the computer, even better, I'll either cancel the order or I'll leave it on and let it run. I started doing it this way just because I wanted minimal management, and it's what I quite liked doing. For the 15-minute chart, so again, I'll use the 1 hour. I'll just delete some of these. I'll use the 1 hour time frame to work out what's high and what's low. Just delete them. So to me, quite clear what is the 1 hour high. I do it visually. What is the 1 hour low? If price were to move up quite a lot like that, I might adjust and say that's the new high there and this is the new low. But I do it visually. I monitor the charts each morning. I'll look at the 1 hour and the daily to work out what's high and low for the 4 hour and the 15-minute, and just draw it out just to make sure I'm always buying and selling in the right areas. For sure, doing it this way, you might miss some trades, but I found just through back testing that over time it tends to work. So if we just drop down to the 15-minute quickly, you'll see I've got a lot of zones drawn in already. Obviously in these areas, I'm looking for sells. In these ones, I'm looking for buys, and they're all these zones have been drawn based on what looks like a break of structure. You can see some of these purple lines here where there's a clear break of structure. For break of structures, I'm looking for price to close above the line. Some of you might just look for it to wick. I know there's type 1, 2, and 3, I think, in the course. It's what works for you, and depending on how risky you want to be with it and your profitability and strike rates. The 15-minute is the same as a 4-hour. So probably after this call, I might place an order within this zone here, and maybe this one here. And I'll also put on some alerts. For the 15-minute, I tend to use an alert 5 pips outside the zone. Again, with a lot of these rules that I have, it's just what's been working. For sure, I could do some more testing and probably improve them a lot. But this is just what I found works so far. So for example, if I'm placing, I'll do it more exact, just so you can see. So I'll be placing the order on there on the EQ. For 15 minutes, I will keep the stop loss 2 pips on the back end of the zone. So if we're 6.6 pips there, it's going to be about 8.6. If you can get it, I don't mind if it's a bit over, if I can't get the exact measurement. And then that would be the price point that I put on and the stop that I would put on. Again, this is a zone that I'm happy to put an order on because price is quite near it already. It's clearly broken structure. There's an inside bar there. So I would put an alert 5 pips outside once I place the order. You can see price is quite clear already, quite close already. If, say after this call, I place an order, it spikes right through my zone and I'm tagged in already, for me, I'm going to kill that live trade straight away, because for me, it's impulsive. It's almost moving against what I would consider a new trend. And again, it comes down to what you consider new trends or not. For me, there's like two breaks of structure there, so I would consider this forming a new trend. On the higher time frames, it might be different, but we're just talking about the 15-minute. What I'd ideally want to see for this zone to be valid once I placed it is if we're building a bit of liquidity in front, might tag my alert, but it's moving correctively, continues to move correctively, and just move slowly back into the zone. And if I get filled there, I'm happy. I'm going to have another alert. This is the other thing. I won't just have alerts on when price is approaching the zone. I'll have alerts on when I get tagged in. So say I'm tagged in there, I'm happy. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let it run. I'm sure some of you are wondering what I do about management. Probably similar to what you already do. I just move the stop behind every new low. So new low or high. So if price is moving like this, I'm going to progressively move my stop. Let's just use this line behind here, and so forth. Some of you might be interested in taking partials, or why do you do it that way? Again, it's just what I've back tested and what seems to be the most profitable. If you're looking at challenges, so strike rate and probability that I've found, this is just trading EQ zones like I've described on euro dollar on the 15-minute. The strike rate, from what I found, you might get it differently when you test it yourself, but from what I found, tends to be about 30 or 40% strike rate. The profitability is crazy across a year. Even across a month, you can get insane months. The last ASR review that I did, I think in June, you could have hit 50% just trading them perfectly. Obviously, you're not going to trade it perfectly. You're going to miss some, but it's just crazy what you can get. The thing is, because it is only 30% strike rate most of the time, you need to be happy with taking 7 losses in a row, 8 losses in a row, sometimes 9. I've seen 10 happen. So you need to have a mentality that is okay to take 8, 9, 10 losses in a row and still execute on your 9th, 10th trade. So you've got to be pretty calloused, like mentality. You've got to have quite a thick skin for losing. But this is why I was asking at the start who's backtesting, because when you start finding a strategy like this or otherwise that works for your mentality, you need to backtest it enough, so much so that you have enough faith to keep executing regardless of what's happening. What else did I want to share? Showing how you backtest the strategy. I can show you briefly now, backtesting wise. So at the moment, I'm backtesting Aussie US dollar. So this is on the 15-minute chart. I'm looking for all breaks of structure. I'm drawing the zones. I'm placing the orders, and then I'm working out, where's my wins. As you can see right here, there's a lot of losses in a row. Minus 1%, minus 0.5, minus 1. I've only got a win of 1.27. But when you do win, you can win big. There's been a couple 10%, 13% winners, 26%. But you have to be prepared to take those losses before you can win. I like the idea to check the 1 hour for the highs and lows. Yeah, it's with this whole thing, I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. I'll be quite honest, some of the photon videos at the moment, I can't understand them because I've been trading this way now for nearly a year. And there's so much more technical, and this is what I meant at the start, like Matt, Thomas, David, they're going to know so much more about the technicals than I do, because they really do it very in depth, and that's such a great way to learn. I've just tried to simplify it for myself so that it's very mechanical, and that I'm just looking for very simple rules to place orders and try and avoid too much emotion in my trading at all. Do you use only one time frame to when back testing? Yes, I'll use only one time frame, but I will still set draw the premium and discount on the higher time frame. Again, for the 15-minute, I'll draw it on the 1 hour. For the 4 hour, I'll draw it on the daily. So if you've got any other questions, yeah, write them in the chat or just ask me. But the other thing I want to mention is I'm sharing this with you because I'm hoping you can take it and then work out, okay, maybe I need to be back testing a certain way based on my lifestyle and what I want from trading. Like how many hours do you want to spend on the chart a day? That should determine what you're back testing and what you're looking at. What's your lifestyle like? Are you working so many hours a week? That should determine what strategies you're looking for. You can keep this so basic. Like, for example, if you just traded EQ zones on the 4 hour on euro dollar with no confluence, not even looking at premium discount, not looking at liquidity, not looking at corrective natures, if you just traded every single EQ zone on the 4 hour on euro dollar with no confluence, you would be profitable. I've tested it over a couple of years and it is profitable. So if you want to keep it really simple, you can do that. You just have to have the mentality to keep executing, and you have to backtest it yourself so that you have the confidence to keep executing when you take losses. You really can keep it very simple and get profitable. It's just you have to have a strategy that works for you and that works for your lifestyle, and also have the confidence in it from the backtesting that you've done. Do you trade, what prop firm are you trading with? FTMO. So I got funded with FTMO in May. I did the challenge is meant to take, I think, a couple months, but I did it in like 6 weeks. Just a point to note on that, if any of you are looking at taking challenges soon, what I realized with this strategy is sometimes you'll be up in floating profit of, I don't know, 10, 14%, etc. And there's going to be, like, I had an instinct to just follow the plan and stick with just trailing the stop. But if you're taking a challenge and you need to hit that 10% for your challenge account, just take the profit. Just take the profit and secure the account for the challenge, and then go back to your normal executing on trading. Because with some of these strategies, you're going to have some bigger months than others. So if you're up in a big month and you're doing well, the trading's going well, take your profit and secure the challenge account, and then go back to your trading. And then you can add in some of your profits to buffer any losses that you might have. Do you trade the typical session hours? Not really. I tend to, so the other alerts that I'll set is I tend to just look at the chart when I have availability to look at the chart. I mean, I work 3 days a week, so I know that there's 3 days for sure I'm going to be at the computer where I can check things quickly. But if I see that there's a big reversal of price, for example, if we just replay this back here, so I'll put like breaks of structure. I'll set an alert. I can't do it in replay mode, sorry, but I'll set an alert on those 2 lines. Once price is breaking, I'll have an alert that flashes up on my phone saying price has broken the low. Start looking for longs. Start looking for shorts. So I'll start drawing on short zones. I'll start setting more alerts on those short zones. If price is looking good, I'll set an order. Again, I'll still have an alert to see what price is doing just as it's approaching the zone, to see if I leave it or kill it. But I tend to just use a lot of alerts. I don't want to be looking at the chart all the time. I haven't given up one sort of day job to then be sat in front of a screen all day. Like I quite like being outside. But it depends what works for you.
Don, just what you were going on about earlier with the challenges.
Yeah.
Obviously, the strike rate was obviously good enough if you're already funded, but how did you actually get past that initial funding stage then without blowing your account? I guess it's a bit of a based on luck of what you get on the day.
You're right. Some of it is luck. And this is why, so if we're in August now, if you know that there's months where maybe the markets are moving a bit sideways, you have to be quite strategic about when you take your challenge, depending on what strategy you're using. For mine, yes, there was an element of luck involved, and that is why I'm talking about don't mess around with if you're already in profit and you've already passed it. So what I did with the challenge, as soon as I hit that 10%, I took profit, and then I didn't place any other trades. I just placed very small trades to satisfy the minimum trade amount required for that trading period. So I wasn't risking anything else. As soon as I hit their targets, I just placed very small trades to satisfy their other criteria. I wasn't risking completing that challenge or not. And you are going to have some down months, like I shared in the group the other week. I took a 5% loss last month, but the month before I did like 22%, and I was quite lucky again in the way that those in the way they were splitting up the month on FTMO, because it meant that 5% loss was absorbed by the previous 22%, just in terms of how they broke up the month. The other thing you can do, aside from just securing your challenge, is once you are have secured an account with them, I never take out all my profit. If you leave some of your profit in there, it adds an extra buffer, because for sure with the strategy, I know that I can take 10 losses, but because I've left the buffer of profit in there from successful months, I know that I won't go over the criteria. The other thing as well is when I first started trading this strategy, I was putting on so many orders in a day. I've stopped doing that now because I know that price can spike and they can take out orders extreme highs and lows without you expecting it. And sometimes, you know, it can be big wins, but sometimes you just take several 1% losses in a row. So I never have more than 3 or 4 orders placed on at any one time, because I know if I lose 3-4%, that's the account blown. So there's an element of just being smart with how you manage it, but it is doable. And again, this is, you know, will this strategy work forever? Probably not, but that's why I'm testing other pairs. And that's why I'm looking at other ways of improving it. I'm looking at other ways of adapting it. I'm always back testing, because for sure this isn't going to last forever. So I need to make sure I have backup strategies or other pairs that work, or other things, so that in the future, when it does start to tail off, I've got other go-to things that are working, so I can remain funded and continue growing the account. Those your losses reset at the end of the month. I'm not sure what you mean by that. FTMO, each month they basically close that account for that month and give you a new login for a new account. So the only thing that gets transferred over is if you've left any profit in it. I don't know if that answers your question. You get a fresh balance. Yes, you do. So if you select a 40k account or a 100k account, each new month, once they've closed that trading period for that month, you'll get a fresh 100k. And say you did 10% profit, those are 10,000 in there. They'll take their profit out, they'll take their 20%, and then you can take whatever you want to take. I'd recommend leaving some in, depending on your strategy, but then you can take some out yourself. So if you left 5 grand in there and it was a 100k account, you start with 105 next month. I'm conscious that this Zoom meeting might end in a minute, but if you've got any other questions, just drop a note in the chat. Hopefully I'll still be able to see it. And yeah, is there any other quick questions people have?
I'm in the middle of something. I don't know, Mama. Check it. I don't know.
Okay. How do you go about deciding which M15 points of interest to take trades from?
I'm in a meeting right now. I'm doing something right now. Can you like give me minutes?
Can you, whoever that is, can you just mute yourself, please? How do you go about deciding which M15 points of interest to trade from? So I base it on stacking up confluence. So premium discount is the first one. I'll never buy where it's a sell area. I'll never sell where it's a buy area. And then I'll be looking at how is price approaching the zone. So is there liquidity? Is there a build up of it? Is there a corrected nature as it approaches the zone? So right now, how this is looking, this one here, let's delete these lines. How this is looking, that's starting to look impulsive to me. If I had an alert on and I had that order on now, I'd be cancelling that, because it just doesn't look attractive. But if it's moving slowly, it's, you know, built a bit of liquidity in front of the zone and then slowly corrects up, then that's one I'm happy to leave on, and I'll let that run. No worries. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? I think we've got about 8 minutes left, so fire away if you still do.
Yes, just a quick recap. I've just written down a few things on my notes here, Dom.
Yeah.
So you're mainly going at the daily, the 4 hour, and then dropping down for the 1 hour to see what's in the 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
Place alerts near POI if premium or discount. Approximately 20 pips on the 4 hour. Check that the price is corrective and not impulsive, as we were just talking about. Check the 1 hour high and low visually. I suppose that's down to everyone's discretion whether they want to do like an EQ of that again. And then 15-minute check where POIs create breaks of structure or eye bosses, and set order on the EQ of POI given a 2 pip buffer like stop loss.
Yeah,
that's what I've got down here. Is there anything I've missed, or
what I would encourage just for you all to get a feel for what's possible here, because I know I would imagine a lot of you were interested in this because it's quite hands-off. So if you want to start seeing if this is something that will work for you, I would strongly suggest just doing some back testing on euro dollar on the 4 hour, and just placing every trade on the EQ of every zone, and then see what the strike rate is like for a year, see what the profitability is like, and then slowly add in these other things. So like I started adding in premium and discount, I started adding in liquidity, all the stuff that Photon recommends as potential complements things. And then I saw how that affected my strike rate and profitability, because you play around with some of these things and the strike rate will vary quite a lot. Same with the profitability. So depending on what your mentality is, maybe you don't want to take 7 losses in a row, 8 losses in a row before you get a big win. Maybe you want to have more of a 50% strike rate, and that's entirely possible. It just depends how you play around with these things, and what works for you. Have you tested any other pairs? Yes, I've tested quite a few. Euro dollar, pound yen, Aussie dollar, pound kiwi. I've tested a lot, but the only ones that I was happy with the strike rate and profitability for at the moment was euro dollar and pound yen. Aussie dollar is looking quite tempting at the moment from the testing I'm doing currently, but yeah, I think I'd want to tweak a few things before I'm happy to live trade that. Do you disregard zones that are mitigated? Good question. Yeah, that's something that's come up lately in what I'm looking at. For some, I tend to, but in the testing that I'm looking at lately, sometimes the zones get mitigated and then price still comes back and fills it and absolutely shoots off. But also sometimes it just comes back and falls right through it. So I don't, at the moment, I do disregard them, but I want to do some more testing on that. Do you leave orders on during the night, or do you set your phone to wake you up if an alert is hit? Yes, I do tend to leave orders on during the night, but only if before I go to bed, price looks like it's moving in a way that I'm happy with. And again, I'll keep with it. Like, I won't leave loads of orders on because I don't want to wake up to like a 5-10% loss. So if I leave someone during the night, it won't be more than 2 or 3 because I don't want to blow the account. Less than a minute. So I think this Zoom is going to run out in a second, guys, but I hope that's helpful. As I say, please do test it yourselves and work out what's useful to you.